Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to come and address all of you. I was part of this journey that started 15 years ago. I led a very small team of 2 people that started this study with a different media partner then, and it has grown into an awesome study today where it has become a kind of a watershed study every year or every other year that we do this. So to help talk about some of the trends that we're seeing in the future that we're picking up, to corroborate some of these findings, to help us understand a little more from a business leader's perspective who has so many other stakeholder interests, principal of which are the shareholders, to balance, I'd like to invite 3 of our stars of the evening onto stage where we can help learn from them on how they're managing the businesses in a very uncertain world as we go forward. Before I do that, I wanted to leave this as the chart that they'll think about. This is very specific to India. This is not global data. So if you look at this data, there are 3,000 plus startups, active startups, and these numbers are real. I've checked them several times. We are the 4th largest startup hub in the world. 59% of these are e-commerce companies. 73% of these founders are less than 36 years old, so they're not going to go away anytime soon. 70,000 plus are employed here. So to help us understand all of this with this particular aspect of the entrepreneurial Indian in the background, I'd like to invite, in alphabetical organizational order, Mr. Guido Sander, who's the MD of Roche Diagnostic, onto stage, please. Guido. Mr. Dilip Puri, who's the MD of India and the Regional Vice President for South Asia of Starwood Hotels. Thank you for coming, sir. Mr. Arvind Uppal, Regional President, Asia South for Whirlpool. Thank you for coming, Arvind. Please have a seat. So thank you, gentlemen, for coming and appreciate you taking time out this evening. Now, these are CEOs. These are all HR people, primarily. Okay, so we'll ask them what they think about HR people in a minute, but I'm sure they think about their HR person in a very different dynamic. Perhaps I can start with you, Guido. Would you like to talk a little bit, just to give us all a color context about Roche Diagnostics, in particular on what makes you unique, both for your customers as well as for your employees?
Right, good, yeah. Maybe I use the opportunity to talk a little bit about the healthcare and the diagnostic sector. What we saw over the last years, over the past decade, it's really a growth sector, and in specifically the diagnostics business that we're operating in. So independent of the volatility of the macroeconomic situation in India, it has been steadily growing at a double-digit rate, and it has become quite attractive, and it has generated a lot of interest from various stakeholders. The sector itself is a combination of a fantastic business opportunity and on the other hand, a really rewarding, passionate sector to operate in. What makes us different? We're still young in India. We're about 13 years in India. We grew from 11 people to, in the meantime, around 750 people. There is a whole international organization behind the local organization with a commitment to make the emerging market India successful. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of focus on the development of leadership, on talent, of the right mix and diversity of people, and really delivering a unique customer experience.
Excellent. I will come back. There are a couple of interesting points that you made on volatility and also on making a difference to people's lives, okay, which I think is a great reason why I would get up and go to work. So thank you for that. From a Starwood Hotels perspective, could you comment a little bit about the industry overall on where it's going in India and what's the current situation, as well as what sets Starwood apart from everybody else that you compete with out there?
Okay. So we're a hotel management company, as you probably know. We've been in India for about 40 years, actually. Yeah. It's been an interesting journey, but more importantly, I think It's allowed us the opportunity to play, in many ways, a pioneering role in how the industry looks at itself. India is unique in the sense that it's one of the rare countries in the world, in the emerging markets, where there are strong domestic players. So the Oberois, the Taj, IDC, Leela, these are established, well-known, reputed luxury brands in India. And so we're competing not just with other international brands, but as importantly with the well-known domestic brands. But what we've seen is the ability to glocalize, if you like, where we've been able to bring in all the things which make our brands powerful around the world and then kind of adapt them for the Indian environment. And I think our principal success has been in adapting, learning, and understanding the Indian market critically.
Thanks for that great introduction, Dilip. Arvind, Whirlpool, super turnaround story, amazing climb back from a shareholder perspective. You're like the darling of many shareholders. Clearly, there are several things that make you unique right now. So as an employer, as well as a business and a brand, what's happening in your industry and in your company?
My slogan to the company, and I think it's our slogan, is that winning teams can make miracles happen.
Okay.
Now, the question, and maybe we can discuss that at length, and I can talk about it all day, is if it's so easy, if everyone knows that it's about a winning team, then let's have a winning team. But making a winning team is not that easy. And I think the first, and this is my learned experience, so it is not, I'm not trying to read out of some book or something. My learned experience is the first and single most important thing for a winning team is transparency. And transparency is a top-down issue. Mm-hmm. It is not a bottom-up issue. So the leader has to set a transparent note. If you're transparent and your direct reports are transparent and so down the ladder, then the whole organization starts to believe, whether it's good or bad, if you're losing or winning doesn't matter, as long as we can communicate freely on this thing. When you have transparency, it creates trust. And trust is about friends. I don't go to office to work. I go to office to meet some friends, and during the course of the day, we discuss many problems. We enjoy problem solving, and that's what we do. And then we switch off lights and go home. And then the results come. And after trust comes teamwork, and then that's winning team. So
Very good.
that's basics.
Well, thanks for that. Now, this is to any of you, Dilip or Guido, please chime in.
I very much share that view. What makes a winning team or a high-performance team, it's obviously transparency, it's engagement, and obviously it's empowerment. Yeah? So it needs to start with the vision as a strategy, and it needs to drop down, and it's the leader that transports it down. And then it's a two-way communication and a continuous two-way improvement process. But it's all about empowerment and the creation of accountability.
So as a not necessarily on the winning teams piece, I get that point of view. As a German organization, what's been in the last 2 years your most challenging aspect in dealing with human resources in India?
You can't really compare it. Yeah, business works completely different than in countries like Germany. I think what's important is you need to come as a leader. You need to come with an open mindset, and you need to take the time to understand and to learn the market, and that needs dialogue. Yeah, leadership is mostly about talking to people, listening to people, and then jointly formulate a solution.
You've got so many different brands, right? So the customer, over a period of time, as they keep visiting your properties and staying in them and enjoying them, they understand the nuances between Sheraton and something else, right? How do you get the employees to get aligned to that brand experience? So if you could divide it into what are the things that you want to hold as common across all brands, and what would you nuance as far as your employment practices are concerned?
Right. So the quick answer to that is that our essential service culture permeates through our brands.
Okay.
So that's not different by brands. Depending on the brand you're working for, clearly you're trained to have an understanding of the standards of the brand, the values of the brand, what we're communicating to the customers. But the fundamental culture of service does not differ between brands. So you could be working for a 4 Points by Sheraton, which is a 4-star brand. You could be working for a St. Regis, which is a luxury brand. And we transfer people between brands. We transfer general managers between brands.
As much of technology replacing human interface as possible. What do you all think your employees are thinking about this? How do you think this makes them feel in terms of, am I really required over the next 3 to 5 years? Is this the place where I can grow, or is this going to have more and more technology replacing me?
The concept of loyalty is somewhere lost with the new generation of associates, the millennials, if you like. They'll probably work for a company for 2 years versus 5 to 7 years. We've got to be realistic towards that. The idea is that you make their job so much fun that it creates the longevity you need. And when you give them the opportunity to work with technology, it's always more fun.
Okay.
Because they're born with a sense
that.
of technology
Right.
different to what we were.
How does it play into particularly your greater order purpose that you've created, which is come to work and save a few lives or you know, make a difference to lives? You know, that's a serious ask. How are we blending technology and employee?
Yeah, if I combine that with the
Yep.
technology aspect, the way I look at it for the diagnostics business, technology is an enabler. Yeah? It makes our lives easier. And specifically, if you think about challenges like India, it's a huge country. Yeah? And it's a very difficult infrastructure. 20 to 25% of the population has, in general, only access to healthcare. So technology is an enabler for a purpose, and the purpose is to reach out to patients. Technology will never replace a direct patient
Right.
interaction,
Right.
but it helps us very much with our ambitions to increase accessibility and quality in the future.
In a country where you operate, where you're considered a consumer durable, not anymore, I know, but the industry is changing, et cetera. So you're appealing to certain customer needs and all of that. You've got employees coming in to service that. And on the other hand, you've got in India, which has a huge way to go in terms of claiming its rightful place as a strong and developing country. How are you managing these juxtapositions from a business and an employer perspective?
Well, I'm not sure this is so much of an employer issue. India is a country where 80% of durable purchases are first-time purchases. So my sense is that it's a country where we are so dependent on seasonality and weather. It should be hot enough so that somebody goes out and buys his first fridge or his first air conditioner. Not because he can afford it, because he can't bear the physical difficulties anymore. So we are still at that stage. I think, particularly for the durable industry, that's a very different issue from a business perspective as it relates to, I think youngsters today come with a lot of ideas. My sense is they would like to do everything and change the world because they come with at a touch of a button, you can get all the information you want, you can access whatever you want. Everything is fast, quick. They want things to happen quickly. They want us to go to rural markets. They want to do everything quickly. So you've got to...
Okay, I'm going to open up questions to the audience in a minute. But before that, one word from each of you. If I were to ask you, what is your employer brand essence?
It's the brand, it's the company that really focuses on the individual and can make a significant contribution to the quality of life.
Irrespective of their level or their whatever they do, they see that they can actually make a difference to the business. Philip.
Well, I think we just have the sexiest brands in the world. That's why people want to come and work for us.
Excellent.
Well, I think there's a difference between the way Whirlpool is perceived by people who don't work for Whirlpool and those who are on the inside.